Welcome to our presentation today, which is going to be about social life, human life. Human life is a subject matter which is preoccupying sociologists. And one of them who took great interest in it is Georg Simmel, a philosopher and German sociologist. Now, according to him, sociologists should study human life. And according to him, human life is dialectical. That it has got two parts which goes hand in hand. According to Simmel, on one side of life, life is becoming. It is not, it is continuous, it is emerging, it is continuously changing, it cannot be known, and it is a lived experience. So, life is, if in a normal observation, you have life when you are not dead. So until you are dead is when you know you have lived life. So as long as you live, you cannot define or describe your life. Life is going to be described by the people who are going to survive you. That is why in Kiswahili, they normally say, Swahili word that hujafa hujaumbika. Is that when a person is dead, is when his life can be told. Before that, there is a matter of recording, continuous recording of what is actually happening moment by moment. And there is no way you are going to know what is going to happen a moment away from the moment you are living. So life is emerging. It is becoming. So that is on the one side. On the other side of life, there are objects. This object are accumulation of human experiences, a collective of human experiences in a certain society. A society living in a certain geographical area, and in the course of interaction of human beings in that context. So, according to Simmel, the product are created by individual record of their experience, and the collective of it normally they are characterized by once those products are created, that are a total collection of all the experiences of human being in their emerging, continuously changing life. They create a product which are object created based on the experience of, and the characteristics of those objects. They've got three characteristics. One, they are not constantly flowing. They don't change the way they becoming life changes. The second characteristic is that they have got form and content. And the third characteristic is that they are intelligible. Intelligible, which means they can be understood by the people who have developed them. And when you say object, actually Simmel was referring to culture. A culture which describes a total way of life of certain human being in a certain geographical area. And the culture is the accumulation of experience over time. And we know it's not easy to change the culture once it is created. We are not saying it does not change, or we are saying that it does not change frequently, or it takes time to change once it has been created. So in simple way, when Simmel was studying human life, he observed only two things. One is its nature and the becoming nature of life that is constantly changing. You cannot pinpoint it somewhere. But the other one is the development of object, which is actually the culture of a certain society. Now, so according to Simmel, life is more than life. Well, there are things we have got. We do what we are doing. Every individual does, and every individual does in their interaction. But at the end of the day, there is development of culture, which is an object. And in culture, then we have what the culture is made of is the total ways of life of a certain society. It can be a family at a family level, which is the base level of interaction. It can be an organizational level, institutional level, or society level. So wherever there are interaction of human being, wherever there is life, okay, definitely there are going to be, over time, a creation of a particular and a peculiar culture for that particular society, be it an organization, a situation, or a family. So, Simmel also touched the stages of development of human society or a human life. And he identified 3 stages. The first stage is the stage in that stage, all the needs are instantly met and satisfied. That human being, in order for human being to survive, which means life, okay, that human being has got needs. And those needs must be fulfilled in order to allow him to exist and continue living. So in the first stage of life, those needs are instantly available and provided. And in sociology, we are very, very much connected to organismic nature. And I don't say, remember, if you happen to look at the born child, a newly born child, of course, at that stage of infancy, he gets everything whatever he needs, he gets it. He needs the food, he can go on and breastfeeding gives everything that the newborn child needs. So we compare it with the society and the human life. That at a very infancy and the first stage, all the needs that is required for survival are instantly met. You don't have to go far and get everything. But because life is emerging and the time is dynamic, then Simmel identified a second stage of life. In the second stage of life, it is noted that the gap started to emerge between what one needs to survive and what can be available to fulfill his or her needs. Okay? So that will happen with the infants also. As he grows up, then the mother could leave him or her. Then he doesn't get food instantly, he has to work for them. That is the same thing happened to the life that we are living. There are times when we have our needs and we don't get them whenever sometimes we don't get them at all. We need them, we desire to have them, but we cannot have them. So there are societies who have reached that stage. But then Simmel identified the second stage. Sometimes life goes into a third stage. And that stage is where interdependence emerges. That you cannot survive without depending or getting supplement or getting assistance or getting help from another part outside of your society or outside of your own. So you stop being self-sufficient. So that is normally maybe that's the stage where most of our society are. We are not self-sufficient. We need to have some assistance or some input, some supplementary, some complementary, somewhat from other society. So, having seen the three stages of life, the life when everything is available, the second stage where you cannot get everything available, and the second stage where you cannot survive without being supported, but you create the creation of interdependence. Everybody needs each other. I think if you apply that, you open up your eyes, you could see where the world is today, where our society are today. You produce a packable things. You don't have the packing material. So someone has to bring you, to supply you the packing material. Those who manufacture the packing material doesn't have the material to manufacture those packing material. They need to be supplied by someone else. So that is the situation where we had. And that is according to the description and the thinking of Georg Simmel. Then Simmel identified the characteristic of life. And according to him, there are several characteristics which are seen in every living society or living human life. The first characteristic is the creation of object. And when we say object, we say those who made culture. The culture and what makes the culture. They say the object created by human experience, which is a characteristic of human life, have got three unique features. The first feature is it is known, that every person in that society knows it, that this is it, okay? He can identify it, know it, and explain it. So another feature of an object, and we said an object in the context of human life, refers to culture. And the culture has got several things. They've got artsy, history, rituals, moral, standard, and what and what. So the second feature of any object created by human life is it must be appreciated. So everybody in that society appreciates it. They say, okay, This is something that we value. The second is that it's accorded, the third feature, it is accorded the deepest respect. If you say, okay, this is the big tree, and this big tree is holy, people understand it as a big tree, not only a big tree, but a holy tree, then the people respect that holy tree. So that it is ticked all the boxes. That people knows it, they can identify it, they understand it, okay? And then people appreciate it, okay? It's valuable for them. Then they accord it in a deep respect. I know if you start opening up your mind, think like a sociologist, you could see that because the society is changing and the culture we said is not flowing, it flows very, very, very slowly, but sometimes it's changing. So you cannot see in the society where people start disrespecting the object created by the society. They stop appreciating them. They started even not understanding them. But while they get rid of the old object, they cannot live without new object. So they create a new object. So there is no life without object. There is no life without culture. Now you remember in Tanzania the father of the nation Mwalimu said, inchi bila utamaduni, hiyo inchi imefanya nini? Imekufa. That any society without culture, that society is dead. It's a dead society. Now, the second characteristic of what we said, of course, is related to the first one, the object, and we said actually the object is culture, is the culture itself. And here we are actually interested on the aspect of culture. So culture is also dialectical, like life. Culture is also dialectical. So here we are actually, the second characteristic of life is dialectical of culture. And when you say dialectical of culture, we mean the two sides of culture, which also goes hand in hand. So we have got the subjective culture, that are the culture of a certain individual in the society. Okay? And when we say subjective culture, we are actually referring to peculiar characteristics of every individual. That we are not all the same. That's why everyone has got his own fingerprint, which is identical, which is unique, which does not it belongs to him, or it belongs to her. And when we say subjective culture, it's the individual intelligence, the creation of an individual basing on her own or his own capacity, the intelligence capacity. If we can play football like Messi, then that is his culture. If we can sing like Diamond, then that is his own culture, his own creation. So whatever he makes, is that. If he can make, he can rise to be a good preacher like Mamposa or Mzewa Upako, or the late TB Joshua, that is his own creation, and that is subjective. But that subjectivity goes along with the objective culture. So the objective culture is a collective and a shared human objective. That's the correction of the Mamposa, the Messi, and the what, and the what, and the what. Then it creates an object which a corrective for a particular society. Now, the objective culture, as we have said, includes what religion, art, literature, philosophy, history, Like here we are studying on the creations of the intelligence of Georg Simmel. But now that has gotten institutionalized into an academic and a scientific thing. So this is scientific knowledge created by the intellectual of Simmel does no longer belong to Simmel, and it's only Simmel which is also, there are correction of other things here, and that become a corrective object as opposed to subjective culture. So then Simmel identified another characteristic of culture, which he called it as tragedy of culture. What is a tragedy of culture? According to Simmel, to put it in a very simple way, is the submission of a creator to its own creations. That the creator, we know, as we have seen earlier in our presentation, human experience, which is a moment recording of life, okay? The correction of it related to creation of object, the culture, which is subdivided into things. So without human being, there is no culture. But once culture is created, then it becomes the controller or something where those who created it, the human being, started to be submissive to those things. So that's why, so that is a tragedy. That you create something, at the end of the day, it ends up controlling you. It ends up defining you, forcing you to do whatever it wants you to do. And that is why Simmel came up with the term, the idea of tragedy of culture. So tragedy of culture is nothing but the expression that things which are created by individual, which end up to exist outside of the individual, not only existing outside of the individual, but controlling the same individual who created those objective or those culture. And this is where Simmel teamed up with other sociologists to create and describe the concept of social facts. So the objective of culture dominates subjective culture, and that is the tragedy of culture. The fourth characteristic of life, based on the first thing, that people differ from each other. We are not the same. Simmel is Simmel. Your presenter here is your presenter here. He is not equal to my father or to my son or to my head of offspring. It's me, it's him, it's you. So, the way you experience life is quite different from the way your friend, your wife, your father, your mother experiences life. But the correction of your experience in totality, if they are put together, end up to make objective culture, and the culture itself. So, the way each individual in a society, in a group, in interaction, conduct or behave in order to meet and to apply his intelligence, which is unique and meet his requirement is quite different from another person in the same group. The fifth characteristic is that in the course of life, individuals need to learn at least a good numbers of the aspect of culture before selecting where he think is, or he think or she think is better or can do it best. They says individual need to learn and understand existing culture object before they select what is required to fulfill their need. Okay? For example, if you take the education system in Tanzania, sometimes when you are primary school, we are in the lower stage of education that we need to learn a lot of things. You learn history, biology. At the end of the day, you drop biology, you drop natural sciences, and you go for social sciences. Sometimes we study social sciences, and you drop them at a certain stage, and then go and pursue a particular. Even those who take a particular discipline, they end up not studying the whole discipline. But at the end of the day, it's not waste of time to understand the other aspect of culture. Although at the end of the day, you are not going to be your career or whatever you want to do, but at least you know a little bit of where you are and what you are doing. So, and you could see it in the course of culture. At the beginning of our stage of life, we can do everything before we start going into the division of labor based on a gender. Okay? But in the course of life, you learn, okay? At least you know now, you can wash your clothes, you can iron your clothes, you can cook your own food, you can prepare, you can do whatever you want to do. But later, when we go to the specialization, where you want to do whatever you want to do, then at least you are aware of. So this is the characteristic of life that Simmel identified, that in a society, individuals, although they've got their desire, they are sometimes forced to touch a little bit of this and that in order to be a total complete member of their society. Another characteristic of life is that is the self-sufficiency. According to Simmel, life for every individual is not self-sufficient. In order to survive, in order to live, you need the support of the people you interact with, or the group of the people you interact with. So you cannot live on your own. You are a social being. You are not self-sufficient. You need the support and exchange. There are interdependence. And that human life is not self-sufficient. We need others and other sources to fulfill the desire or whatever we need. The seventh characteristic, according to Simmel, is the sacredness. Sacredness. And that leads to the sociology of sacred societies. So every society, in every life, there are secrets in interactions. You have got the person you interact with, you doesn't, and by secrets, Simmel was referring to information. Information withholding and information releasing. Or you reveal or you withhold information. You reciprocally change information, or you sometimes you resist discovery. You make sure everybody you interact with doesn't know one or two aspects of your life. So there are some things that you keep to yourself that nobody can simply know them. The eighth characteristic of life, according to Simmel, and this is captured by his concept of stranger, the stranger. By the stranger, Simmel was referring to a situation where a person in the course of his life identify himself as part of the interaction, part of the group, but is not fully attached to that group. So he's there, but he's actually not there. He's closer, but he's actually not very close. Here, Simmel was referring to the attachment with a group that a person identifies himself at that time. And that is commonly visible, apparent in our life, and in our life at the third stage where there is actually interdependence movement is, migration is possible. You could see, let's say, a person who by ethnics he identify himself as a Kerewe or a Sukuma, but if you ask him to tell you anything about the ethnic groups he identifying himself, he knows nothing. So, yes, he's a Sukuma, but he knows nothing about Sukuma. He's a Kerewe, but he knows nothing about Sukuma. He's working as a doctor, but he doesn't know how to treat a person. He's in academia teaching, but he doesn't like teaching. So that's this is what this made Simmel come up with the term a stranger. So sometime in the course of our life, we are stranger to even the very people we interact with. We sometimes become very strangers even to the culture that our society in totality have created. And that is, as I've said, that is the apparent even today. If we put it in the context of time, Simmel died almost 100 years ago. But his ideas, his concept, his way of understanding life and the culture is as if we are with him now. So that's the very good thing with the culture, the life. That at the end of the day, individuals intellectual, I am employed and exploited, but the betterment and the contribute to the generation of what? Of culture. And for sociologists, then we learn and use those tools which were created by intellectuals, by using intelligence of individual to see our society today. So if you use the concept of stranger, you could see how a good number of us are strangers in our own society, are strangers in our own interaction, are strangers in our own culture. That is the end of our presentation. Thank you for listening. And if you enjoyed our presentation, and if you think this presentation we made is very valuable to the society, if you think our presentation should reach a good number of people, the wider society, please support us by subscribing, sharing, and commenting. And if you want to follow our video, please don't hesitate to and forget to hit the bell. Thank you.